First night on the job. Easy, right? Just me, a flashlight, and a whole lot of empty mall. My name's Alex, and I figured being a night guard at the Northwood Galleria would be a piece of cake. A quiet place to study, maybe catch up on some podcasts. The head of security, a gruff guy named Henderson, handed me a heavy ring of keys. Lockdown's at 10 sharp, he'd said. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Just do your rounds, check the doors, and don't touch anything. Easy money, famous last words. The first couple of hours were exactly what I expected. The silence of the mall after hours is something else. It's not just quiet. It's a deep, heavy silence that swallows every little sound. The echo of my own footsteps on the polished marble floor was my only company. I walked past the darkened storefronts, their metal grills pulled down like sleeping eyelids. The food court was an eerie landscape of upturned chairs and silent cash registers. It was peaceful, almost meditative. I even remember thinking, I could get used to this. My first round was at midnight. I started on the west wing, methodically checking each door. Everything was locked up tight. As I passed by Timeless Toys, a store filled with classic dolls and action figures, I thought I saw a flicker of movement from the corner of my eye. I stopped, shining my flashlight beam through the grill. Inside, a row of porcelain dolls sat on a shelf, their glass eyes staring blankly into the darkness. Just a trick of the light, I told myself, my mind playing games in the dead of night. I continued my patrol, heading towards the central atrium with its grand glass elevator and massive fountain, now still and dark. That's when I heard the first sound that wasn't my own. A soft, distant giggle. It sounded like a little girl. My heart jumped into my throat. I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting through the shadows. Hello? Is anyone there? My voice echoed, sounding small and foolish in the vast space. Nothing, just the hum of the emergency lights. Probably the air conditioning vents, I reasoned, my mind scrambling for a logical explanation. Old buildings make weird noises. An hour later, I was on the second floor, patrolling the high-end fashion corridor. This part of the mall always felt a little creepy, even during the day. It was lined with dozens of mannequins, frozen in elegant, unnatural poses. As I walked past Verona's Vogue, I did a double take. I could have sworn the mannequin in the front window, a female figure in a red evening gown, had been facing forward when I passed earlier. Now its head was turned slightly, as if it were watching me walk away. My skin prickled. I shook my head, telling myself I was getting tired, letting my imagination run wild. I made a mental note to get more sleep before my next shift. I decided to take a short break in the security office, a small, windowless room with a bank of CCTV monitors. I sat down watching the grainy black and white feeds. Each camera showed a different silent part of the mall. The food court, the main entrance, the long corridors, everything was still. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. See? Nothing to worry about. I was about to grab a coffee when I noticed something on screen 7. The camera pointed at the fashion corridor. My blood ran cold. The mannequin in the red dress. It wasn't in the window anymore. The display was empty. I frantically switched between cameras, my heart pounding against my ribs. Camera 6, camera 8, nothing. Where did it go? Then I switched back to camera 7, and I saw it. It was standing at the far end of the corridor, almost completely obscured by shadow. But it was there, and it had moved. This wasn't a trick of the light. This wasn't my imagination. I grabbed my heavy-duty flashlight and my radio, my hand trembling as I clicked the button. Henderson? Henderson, come in. This is Alex. Static. I tried again. Security base, this is Northwood Galleria. Do you copy? More static. The radio was dead. Of course it was. My training kicked in, or what little I had. I had to investigate. I couldn't just sit here while something was happening in the mall. With my heart hammering in my chest, I stepped out of the office and back into the chilling silence of the second floor. I walked slowly, my flashlight beam dancing ahead of me, every shadow looking like a threat. When I reached the corridor, it was empty. The mannequin was back in its window at Verona's Vogue, posed exactly as it was when I first saw it. I stood there for a full minute, my mind reeling. Was I losing it? Did I just hallucinate the whole thing? Maybe the stress of a new job was getting to me. I took a deep, shaky breath, trying to calm my nerves. Then I heard it again, that giggle. But this time it wasn't distant, it was close, it was right behind me. I whipped around, my flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. Nothing. But the air was suddenly colder. I could feel the hairs on my arms standing on end. I started backing away step by step, my eyes scanning the darkness. That's when I heard another sound. A soft, scraping noise, like plastic dragging on marble. I followed the sound with my light, my beam landing on another storefront. Modern man menswear. All the mannequins in the window were frozen in their usual poses, all except one. A male mannequin dressed in a sharp black suit was on the floor. It lay on its back, its plastic limbs twisted at odd angles, its blank face staring up at the ceiling. It looked like it had been violently thrown down, but the grill was locked. How? The scraping sound came again, this time from my left. I swung my light in that direction and froze. Down the hall, near the escalators, stood the mannequin in the red dress. It was just standing there, motionless, its head tilted to the side. Its painted-on smile seemed wider, more menacing in the flickering beam of my flashlight. I couldn't breathe. My mind was screaming at me to run, but my feet were glued to the floor. This was impossible. This couldn't be happening. Mannequins don't move. They don't. Slowly, deliberately, it lifted one of its plastic arms and pointed, not at me, but at something behind me. A wave of pure terror washed over me. I didn't want to turn around. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that whatever it was pointing at was what I'd been hearing, what I'd been feeling. The scraping noise was louder now, closer. The sound of dragging plastic, of multiple limbs moving in a jerky, uncoordinated way. It was the sound of an entire army of them, waking up. From the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the shop windows, a hand twitching, a head slowly turning. The timeless toys dolls were no longer on their shelf. They were pressed against the glass, their painted smiles looking like hungry grimaces. I finally found the strength to turn, and what I saw will haunt my nightmares for the rest of my life. The corridor behind me was no longer empty, it was filled with them. Dozens of mannequins from every store on the floor were standing there. Men, women, children. Some were missing limbs, others had cracked faces, but they were all standing. All watching me with their dead painted eyes, and they were starting to move. Not walking, but shuffling, dragging themselves forward in a silent, horrifying procession. I wasn't alone in the mall. I was trapped, locked in with them. My easy money job had become a fight for survival. The giggling started again, echoing from all around me, a chorus of cold plastic laughter. My scream was lost in the vast, dark emptiness of the mall, a place that was no longer just a building but their playground. And the night was far from over.